Hello and welcome to Compelled to Act, where we do things unscripted, unedited, and off the cuff. Though there is going to be a lot of reading today, so not a whole lot of room for off the cuffness, but we'll try. Today we are looking at the whole debacle that supposedly happened at the Arlington National Cemetery, where Trump was a very bad man for taking pictures and videos. Or was he? I don't know. We'll find out. I mean, maybe you're looking at all these tabs and you realize I do already know. Yeah. The system really wants to make a deal out of this. They really want you to hate them for it. So let's see what's really going on. This all starts with NPR breaking a story of Trump campaign staff had altercation with official at Arlington National Cemetery. This was last updated on August 28th of 2024. Article goes on to read, two members of Donald Trump's campaign staff had a verbal and physical altercation Monday with an official at Arlington National Cemetery, where the former president participated in a wreath laying ceremony, NPR has learned. A source with knowledge of the incident said the cemetery official tried to prevent Trump staffers from filming and photographing in a section where recent U.S. casualties are buried. The source said Arlington officials had made clear that only cemetery staff members would be authorized to take photographs or film in the area known as Section 60. When the cemetery official tried to prevent Trump campaign staff from entering Section 60, campaign staff verbally abused and pushed the official aside, according to the source. Trump participated in an event to mark the third anniversary of the deadly attack on U.S. troops in Afghanistan as U.S. forces withdrew from the country. 13 U.S. service members were killed in the attack. The Trump campaign has blamed President Biden and Vice President Harris, now the Democratic presidential nominee, for the chaotic withdrawal. In a statement to NPR, Stephen Chung, the Trump campaign spokesman, strongly rejected the notion of a physical altercation, adding, "We are prepared to release footage if such defamatory claims are made." The fact is that a private photographer was permitted on the premises for whatever reason. An unnamed individual, clearly suffering from a mental health episode, decided to physically block members of President Trump's team during a very solemn ceremony, Chung said in the statement. The Trump campaign declined to make the footage immediately available. On Wednesday, the campaign released a video on TikTok that includes Trump's Section 60 visits. In a statement to NPR on Tuesday, Arlington National Cemetery said it can confirm there was an incident and a report was filed. Article continues. Federal law prohibits political campaign or election related activities within the Army National Military Cemeteries, to include photographers, content creators, or any other persons attending for purposes or in direct support of a partisan political candidate's campaign, according to the statement. Arlington National Cemetery reinforced and widely shared this law and its prohibitions with all participants. Arlington officials updated the statement on Wednesday, writing, "To protect the identity of the individual involved, no further information about the incident is being released at this time." So, this whole story stems from a source with knowledge of the incident, which is claimed to be like a verbal and physical attack, ends with everyone referring to it as an incident. This kind of sounds like crazy person says, "No, you can't do this, you can't do this," and they go, "No, I had it cleared." and then crazy person calls their boss and says, I want to complain, or calls the police, files a report, and then we use that to spin into this. Like, hey, it's all vague enough. Sure, it must have been an altercation. They must have physically attacked somebody. They do point out, they do make it clear that it's you can't do it politically. You can't take photos, you can't take videos if it's for a campaign or in support of a candidate. But the entire system in its whole also kind of wants you to feel like you're just not supposed to take photographs there. Like that's just not allowed. But if we go over to the cemetery's actual site, they have two photo policies. This one's the photo use policy, and I believe that's mainly referring to photos on this site, as it says photographs on this site are in the public domain unless a copyright is indicated. Only public domain photos can be reproduced without permission. Citation of this source is appreciated. Permission to reproduce copyright photos must be sought from the original source. And then they go over some more stuff about copyrighted ones, but they conclude any original photographs taken while at Arlington National Cemetery do not require a release from Arlington or the Department of the Army. Photographers may keep and use photographs they have taken as they wish. So nowhere is they're not saying you can't take photographs. They're saying your photos are yours. Do with them what you want. Now, this is their media policy on photography. Photography is permitted within the grounds of Arlington National Cemetery. Photographers who are members of news organizations need to make arrangements for a media escort by contacting the ANC Public Affairs Office, and they list a phone number. We ask media and cemetery visitors to respect the solemnity of Arlington National Cemetery by refraining from taking pictures of or filming someone who is visibly mourning. Please ask for permission to film or photograph those visiting a gravesite. So there you go. Their restriction is like, don't take pictures of the people mourning unless they say you can. So definitely no issue to take photos there. Now we're going to look at this person's X post because I don't know where they got this. I could not find the source of the U.S. Army statement, but I've seen it chopped up on enough outlets to know that this is accurate. So I'm willing to use this source because it doesn't chop it up. It just posts in the entirety, and that's what I like. I don't like anything deceptive in my sources. So Jennifer Griffin at Jen Griffin FNC, thank you for posting this. And this is the U.S. Army statement. Arlington National Cemetery routinely hosts public wreath-laying ceremonies at the tomb of the unknown soldier for individuals and groups who submit requests in advance. ANC conducts nearly 3,000 such public ceremonies a year without incident. Participants in the August 26th ceremony and the subsequent Section 60 visit were made aware of federal laws, Army regulations, and DoD policies, which clearly prohibit political activities on cemetery grounds. An ANC employee who attempted to ensure adherence to these rules was abruptly pushed aside. Consistent with the decorum expected at ANC, this employee acted with professionalism and avoided further disruption. The incident was reported to the JBMHH Police Department, but the employee subsequently decided not to press charges. Therefore, the Army considers this matter closed. This incident was unfortunate, and it is also unfortunate that the ANC employee and her professionalism has been unfairly attacked. ANC is a national shrine to the honored dead of the armed forces, and its dedicated staff will continue to ensure public ceremonies are conducted with the dignity and respect the nation's fallen deserve. So there you go. That's the U.S. Army statement, and they say this matter is closed. Well, they said the employee didn't press charges, so okay, that closes the assault case. They made it very clear that they told them all about the no politics law, and the matter's closed. So there was no politicking. There was nothing wrong, is my takeaway. What do you think? That's what I think. And then Trump has a post here, which is a statement from some 5 representatives of the Gold Star families. And they say, we would like to express our heartfelt thanks and appreciation to President Donald J. Trump for his presence at the recent Section 60 gathering, honoring our children and their fallen brothers and sisters on the 3-year anniversary of the Abbey Gate bombing. The president and his team conducted themselves with nothing but the utmost respect and dignity for all of our service members, especially our beloved children. We had given our approval for President Trump's official videographer and photographer to attend the event, ensuring these sacred moments of remembrance were respectfully captured, and so we can cherish these memories forever. We are deeply grateful to the president for taking the time to honor our children and for standing alongside us in our grief. Offering his unwavering support during such a difficult time, his compassion and respect mean more than words can express. And then it has the 5 family members that I'm supposing authored the statement. So yeah, the family wanted him there. The family was happy to have him there. Now we're going to watch Meet the Press try to make this a thing, and oh my lord, it's almost painful. Let's get into it.
All right, let me ask you about another one of the big headlines this week, Donald Trump's visit to Arlington National Cemetery. You've been talking about this. He attended a wreath-laying ceremony, obviously, for the 13 service members who were killed during the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was invited by those family members, important to say that. He also had campaign staffers with him. Photos, videos were posted on a campaign site. Taking campaign photos and videos at grave sites is forbidden under federal law. You, of course, served at Arlington Cemetery in the Old Guard, so I know that this is a sacred place for you. Bottom line, though, I guess, Senator, is it ever appropriate to make campaign content at military grave sites?
He didn't take campaign photos there. These families, Gold Star families, whose children died because of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris's incompetence, invited him to the cemetery, and they asked him to take those photos because, as they told me yesterday when I spoke to Kelly Barnett and Darren Hoover, the parents of Taylor Hoover, who has Arkansas ties, they don't get to go to the beach on Labor Day. They don't get to have barbecues. This is their one chance to have a memory of their children, to commemorate their service and to honor their sacrifice. They wanted President Trump there. They wanted to take those photos. You know who the families also invited? Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. Where were they? Joe Biden was sitting at a beach. Kamala Harris was sitting at her mansion in Washington, D.C. She was 4 miles away. 10 minutes. She could have gone to the cemetery and honored the sacrifice of those young men and women. But she hasn't. She never has spoken to them or taken a meeting with them.
Well,
It's because
they
of
did
her,
meet with them during the dignified
it's
transfer.
because of
They were
her-
with them at the dignified transfer.
her and Joe Biden's incompetence, those 13 Americans were killed in Afghanistan.
Okay, she interrupted to say, no, no, at the dignified transfer, she met him. She met him. Totally. Totally met him. Totally met him at the dignified transfer. Do you spot her? Do you see her? I don't see her. I see Biden. I don't see her. She's never met them. She's never talked to them. But apparently, this chick on Meet the Press, Kristen, she'll defend him even though she's wrong.
Well, not everyone obviously was pleased with this visit. And again, just the law says memorial services and ceremonies at Army, national, military cemeteries will not include partisan political
And
activities.
it didn't, Chris. He wasn't. President Trump wasn't
was
wearing a red.
posted on a
he
campaign
wasn't-
site, though,
He
on
wasn't
his
wearing a
TikTok.
red MAGA hat.
I understand.
He didn't
it
have
was
a Trump
posted on the
just
Trump
like Joe
TikTok
Biden. Just like
site.
Joe Biden has posted content of himself in the cemetery or in other cemeteries or at a
campaign
dignified
staffers.
transfer.
Yeah.
They're all American citizens. They have a right to go there and to honor the sacrifice of those 13 Americans who Joe Biden and Kamala Harris sent to their death.
Let me ask.
The facial expressions of that woman, it's, oh Lord, it's bad. And Cotton's right here. Biden's done the exact same thing.
This year, Memorial Day feels a little different. This pandemic is showing us that service and bravery and willingness to stand in the front lines to help and protect our fellow human beings is not just a quality we find in our service members. It's at the core of every American spirit. This Memorial Day offers each of us a chance to reflect on the enormity of their sacrifice.
For those of you who are missing the peace of your hearts this Memorial Day, your sacrifice will never quite end. That doesn't mean we shouldn't do our best to ease the weight, so you don't have to carry their legacies alone.
And all of us who have lost loved ones, days like this can be bittersweet. So it's to all the members of our military and our military families, especially those who've lost their service member. Thank you. We owe you. We can never lessen the magnitude of your loss. But this I can promise you. We will never forget. May God bless you all. May God protect our troops.
See that big old paid for Biden for president? You know? And of course, it's only a minute clip, so I don't mind showing you guys the whole thing because I like showing you guys all the information I can. And and have you noticed she kept saying campaign site, campaign photographs and videos at the cemetery site, you know, keeping those words close together, just really putting it in your head, campaign site. And then she starts to mutter clarification of TikTok. TikTok's not a campaign site. You could campaign on it, but it's not a campaign site. And they know that. They didn't use those words by accident. They plan what they're going to say. I mean, look, watch her. She's almost everything she says, she's reading off of that sheet of paper in front of her. She's got her talking points.
Ask you about what we're hearing from another family. The family of Master Sergeant Andrew Marcassano. He was a Green Beret. His family was concerned that his grave was actually shown in a photo that was posted on social media. A statement from the Marcassanos' sister, Michelle, said, quote, "We hope that those visiting this sacred site understand that these were real people who sacrificed our freedom and that they are honored and respected accordingly." Did the Trump campaign fail to honor her wishes, their wishes?
No, Kristen, they honored the wishes of the 13 families whose children died at Abbey Gate. Those families wanted the photos. They told me yesterday that they specifically asked President Trump for the photos. Obviously, headstones at Arlington are close to each other. And when you take
But
a
what
photo
about that
of
family?
your
What about
loved
the
one,
Marcasanos?
when you take a photo of your loved one, then other headstones are going to be present as well. Frankly, I think it's pretty disappointing that the New York Times went and found a family whose headstone was featured in that photograph of another Gold Star family, and then went to them to try to embarrass the Gold Star families who wanted President Trump there.
Very quickly, have you had any conversations?
From there, she just finishes up and asks if he's going to be on the Trump cabinet, and he doesn't really answer. But she's wondering if Trump should have to question for this photo, which they showed you. You can rewind back and look. This is it. This is the photo she said was bad. I don't see any campaign anything anywhere. If Trump wasn't standing right there, would you call this a political photo? It's only because he's there. They're the ones making it political. But wasn't even Trump. Wasn't even his photo. It wasn't even him who posted it. It was Utah Governor Spencer J. Cox at GovCox. That's where the photo comes from. So you're trying to hold Trump accountable for something Trump didn't do. You think they couldn't source that photo? I mean, before you accuse somebody of something like that, right? You should see where it came from. And then like Cotton said, they've invited Biden and Harris, but they didn't show up. And here we have basically the president's schedule every day. And here he is, August 26, 2022. Nowhere on this schedule is there going to Arlington to meet with these people, to honor them on the anniversary. Nope. Instead, you got Depart's White House en route, Beltsville, Maryland, in 2022, where he was appearing on a show by Jay Leno, if I'm not mistaken. And then we have August 26, 2023. He's not going to Arlington. In fact, he's actually on vacation, and they just don't specify that. They're like, oh yeah, he was moving. And then August 26, 2024. He was on vacation. And this one I'm going to read because this is hilarious. Out of town pool report number 1. The White House has pushed the call time to 12 p.m. Out of town pool report number 2. Delayed call time. The White House has pushed the call time to 4 p.m. Remember that, 4 p.m. Out of town pool report number 3. Lid. The White House has called the lid at 3:20 p.m. So they told the reporters, come back at 4, we might talk to you. And then at 3:20, they went, no, we're done for the day. So that was Biden every anniversary that's popped up. And now we get into meet. You have Kamala Harris posting on X a post that is pretty delusional, I think. But we'll get through it real quick. The post reads, as vice president, I have had the privilege of visiting Arlington National Cemetery several times. It is a solemn place, a place where we come together to honor American heroes who have made the ultimate sacrifice in service of this nation. It is not a place for politics. And yet, as was reported this week, Donald Trump's team chose to film a video there, resulting in an altercation with cemetery staff. Let me be clear. The former president disrespected sacred ground, all for the sake of a political stunt. This is nothing new from Donald Trump. This is a man who has called our fallen service members suckers and losers and disparaged Medal of Honor recipients. A man who, during a previous visit to the cemetery, reportedly said to fallen service members, "I don't get it. What was in it for them?" This is the man who is unable to comprehend anything other than service to himself. If there is one thing on which we as Americans can all agree, it is that our veterans, military families, and service members should be honored, never disparaged, and treated with nothing less than our highest respect and gratitude. It is my belief that someone who cannot meet that simple, sacred duty should never again stand behind the seal of the President of the United States of America. I will always honor the service and sacrifices of all of Americans' fallen heroes who made the ultimate sacrifice on behalf of our beloved nation and our cherished freedoms. I mourn them and salute them, and I will never politicize them. End post. You just did, lady. You just did. That entire post is more political than what he did. And it's so full of lies. So full of lies. You honor the service members, then why aren't you there? And he is. You know what they say? Actions speak louder than words. Being there with the families at their request says a lot more than an X post. And she even how can she get away with this? Suckers and losers. Suckers and losers. That's one guy that was near Trump that day said he said that. But then we go over here and we have Zach Fuentes, former deputy to Chief of Staff General John Kelly. I did not hear POTUS call anyone losers when I told him about the weather. Honestly, do you think General Kelly would have stood by and let anyone call fallen Marines losers? And see, if you're not familiar, the claim was he didn't go to the ceremony because he thought they were suckers and losers, according to, I think it was John Kelly. I'm pretty sure it was John Kelly that said this. And now it's just fact, even though everybody else there disagrees. And they say the reason he didn't go to the ceremony, it was called off for weather. The weather was declared unsafe. So we also have, and I don't even like this guy. This guy's shady. John Bolton, former national security advisor. I didn't hear either of those comments or anything even resembling them. I was there at that point in time, the morning when it was decided that we would not go to Ames Marne Cemetery. He decided not to do it because of John Kelly's recommendations. It was entirely a weather-related decision, and I thought the proper thing to do. We have Sarah Huckabee Sanders, former White House press secretary. The Atlantic story on @RealDonaldTrump is total BS. I was actually there, and one of the people part of the discussion. This never happened. I am disgusted by this false attack. We have Hogan Gidley, former White House deputy press secretary. These are disgusting, grotesque, reprehensible lies. I was there in Paris, and the president never said those things. These weak, pathetic, cowardly background sources do not have the courage or decency to put their names to these false accusations because they know how completely ludicrous they are. It's sickening that they would hide in the shadows to knowingly try and hurt the morale of our great military simply for an attack on a political opponent. Okay, maybe I was wrong. I was thinking John Kelly because he was the guy that suggested they cancel for weather. So, correction there, real time. Dan Scavino, White House Deputy Chief of Staff for Communications. I was with POTUS in France, with Sarah, and I have been at his side throughout it all. Complete lies by anonymous sources that were dropped just as he begins to campaign and surge a disgraceful attempt to smear POTUS 60 days before the presidential election. Disgusting. Jordan Kareem, former personal aide to President Trump. This is not even close to being factually accurate. Plain and simple, it just never happened. Johnny DeStefano, former counselor to President Trump. I was on this trip. The Atlantic bit is not true, period. Stephen Miller, former senior advisor to President Trump. A despicable lie. The president deeply wanted to attend the memorial event in question and was deeply displeased by the bad weather call. Derek Lyons, former staff secretary and counselor to President Trump. I was with the president the morning after the scheduled visit. He was extremely disappointed that arrangements could not be made to get him to the site and that the trip had been canceled. Dan Walsh, former White House Deputy Chief of Staff. I can attest to the fact that there was a bad weather call in France and that the helicopters were unable to safely make the flight. First Lady Melania Trump, the Atlantic story is not true. It has become a very dangerous time when anonymous sources are believed above all else and no one knows their motivation. This is not journalism, it is activism, and it is a disservice to the people of our great nation. Jamie McCourt, former U.S. ambassador to France and Monaco. In my presence, POTUS has never denigrated any member of the U.S. military or anyone in service to our country, and he certainly did not that day either. Let me add, he was devastated to not be able to go to the cemetery at Belleau Wood. In fact, the next day he attended and spoke at the ceremony in Sheerness in the pouring rain. Nick Mulvaney, former acting White House Chief of Staff. These claims are simply outrageous. I never heard the president disparage our war dead or wounded. In fact, the exact opposite is true. I was with him at the 75th anniversary of the D-Day invasion in Normandy. As we flew over the beaches by helicopter, he was outwardly in awe of the accomplishments of the Allied forces and the sacrifices they paid. Major General Bill Maz, Secretary of the American Battle Monuments Commission. I was the host of the event discussed by the false and despicable article published in the Atlantic magazine on the 3rd of September, when the president's visit was appropriately canceled due to weather. I received word also that he was upset he could not make it to the wreath-laying visit. Is that debunked enough? Is that enough people saying that simply did not happen versus an anonymous source? Or somebody familiar with the incident? If they don't put a name on it, why would we listen? Why would we do that? All right, we get some videos now. You're going to get some videos, and for the most part, I'm just going to let these people talk because what they have to say is so much more than anything I can add to it. These are 7 members of the 13 families, each addressing Kamala Harris's post on X. And that's all the setup we need. We're just going to run right through them. So here we go.
My name is Darren Hoover, and I'm the Gold Star father of United States Marine Corps Staff Sergeant Taylor Hoover. Kamala, I want you to understand, and I know it will be difficult for you, because you lack empathy and basic understanding. The events that happened on August 26, 2024, with President Trump at Arlington National Cemetery were solemn and in keeping with the reverence and respect that is given to all members of our military that are buried there. We invited President Trump. We are the ones that asked for the video and the pictures to be taken at the tomb of the unknown soldier. This was a very solemn wreath laying in our son's name, along with the Sergeant Nicole G. family, as well as 2 of our catastrophically injured military members that were there on that horrific day in the honor of our Abbey Gate 13. We then moved to the gravesite where our children are buried. Again, we asked the Trump team to take the videos, take the pictures of our time there. President Trump then laid a wreath at the graveside of Army Staff Sergeant Ryan Christian Knaus. There he talked to both his mother and father. President Trump then moved to our son's grave, where we were surrounded by our family and friends, where we talked about Taylor and his sacrifice to this country. Let me be clear. There was no politics discussed, none whatsoever. There was also not an assault that we observed take place, or did we hear it? I don't know where this is coming from, but it's disgusting and gross. President Trump has been there for us from the very beginning, when our son and the other 12 of his brothers and sisters in arms were murdered due to your negligence and uncaring attitude towards our military. Don't forget, Kamala, you were the last one in the room. You and Joe Biden made the final decision on how to pull out of Afghanistan. You created the chaos and mayhem for the military to accomplish their goals. Our sons and daughters made the best of a difficult situation, as they had been trained to do. They adapted and overcame all of that and came out as heroes, something that you will never know or understand. Kamala, we have been treated with the utmost respect, compassion, and understanding by President Trump, something you and Joe Biden have refused to do since August 26, 2021. Where were you and Joe Biden on August 26, 2024? Nowhere near Arlington Cemetery. You couldn't be bothered to be with us or even say our kids' names, just as you have done for the last 3 years. Neither one of you have called to speak with us or share in our grief. I wonder, Kamala, do you sleep at night securely in your bed? Or do you have nightmares of our kids because it was your incompetence and negligence that got our kids murdered? It is you who sends out messages on social media that are outright lies. It is you that has disrespected our families. It is you who knows nothing about service and sacrifice. It is you that has divided this country, and it is you who is unfit to be the commander-in-chief. These are the only memories we get to make with our son, and it is you who is playing politics and trying to detract from our memories made that day. You should be ashamed and embarrassed at your lack of empathy and decency as a human being. You are only in this for the power and prestige. You don't care for our military or the citizens of this country. You should hang your head in shame at your actions or lack thereof. You need to move aside, get out of the way, and stop hindering the progress, growth, and independence of this great nation.
That's powerful stuff. I mean, straight from his mouth. He's, I don't think politics has anything to do with it for him. He knows one person's been there for the families and two that haven't. Right? So let's continue on. We got more clips like that. And I think they're all very important because these speak more volumes than any article or anyone can.
Vice President Harris, my name is Jim McCollum. I am the Gold Star father of United States Marine Corps Lance Corporal Riley McCollum, killed in Afghanistan, August 26, 2021. Your recent remarks related to Trump's visit to Arlington are filled with nothing but lies and deceit. How do you sleep at night knowing it was you, this administration, you and Biden, you being the last one in the room, are responsible for the death of our 13 kids? You have failed for 3 years and 8 months to acknowledge our kids, to acknowledge me. You don't know me. You've never spoken to me. You've never reached out to me. You have failed in your duties as vice president. You have been nothing but disrespectful to me and the families of the 13. Yet you're claiming that you will always be respectful and show respect for our fallen. You've been absent for 3 years and 8 months. You've proven that you're not capable to do the job that you have, let alone the job that you seek. You know nothing about honor, courage, commitment, respect, but President Trump does. President Trump has been there for us. He's been a rock for us. He showed compassion for us, and he showed he truly cares for the families that truly do know what the ultimate sacrifice really is. You have the day you deserve.
Again, powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. Nothing can explain it better than their feelings. They know who's been there and they know who hasn't. And how heartbreaking is that? You had 13 people die in the military under military actions in your administration, and nowhere over 3 years have you talked to them, have you acknowledged them, have you honored them. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. I mean, these people have to be evil because, I mean, the first two, how do you sleep at night? How? Because they don't have a soul. We're meaningless to them. We can't offer them any more power than our vote gives them. And that only matters for a very brief slice of time. All right, we'll continue.
Good afternoon. My name is Herman Lopez. I'm a Gold Star father. My son, Corporal Hunter Lopez, was a U.S. Marine killed in action on August 26, 2021. This message is intended for Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm not a person who usually takes to social media, but earlier today, your post regarding the incident at Arlington National Cemetery was brought to my attention. After reading it, it caused a reaction with me. You indicated in your post that you support the military and military families. I, for one, have not seen that support. It's been 3 years since my son was killed in action, and myself, my family, and other Gold Star families have not seen any support from you or your administration. You may make hollow promises about the economy or anything else you'd like to make promises about. But one thing that I ask of you, and the reason I'm making this message, is for you to stop making comments about your support for the military. As a Gold Star father, I know that you have not supported us. I know that you have not supported other Gold Star families. Please stop making these types of comments because that support has not been demonstrated. Your words are hollow and empty. My other request is that for the American public to know that these messages, these promises from Kamala Harris, especially in regard to supporting the military and our military families, are false and baseless. They have not been proven, and she has not earned our respect. Thank you very much.
I think he's summarized it very well. You have not earned our respect.
Vice President Harris, my name is Christy Shamblin. My daughter-in-law, Sergeant Nicole Leanne G., was killed in the Afghanistan exit at Abbey Gate on August 26, 2021. This year, for the 3rd year anniversary of her murder, we welcome President Donald J. Trump to Arlington to lay a wreath on the tomb of the unknown soldier with our family and to visit Nicole graveside. President Trump and his team were respectful. They listened to our stories and didn't talk much at all. We welcomed them that day and they were comfort to our family. Vice President Harris, I ask you, why won't you return a call and explain to us how you call my daughter-in-law's death a success? Vice President Harris, why will you not express your condolences yourself? Why have we never heard from you? And finally, why would you take a day where we celebrated the death of our loved one and use it to disparage not only them, but us? President Trump has called, President Trump shows up, and President Trump takes the time to hear our loved ones' stories. Why won't you do the same?
You have to assume it's because she knows she's to blame. She knows she's to blame, and it would play bad or whatever. But again, these are the family members of our true heroes. And they all seem to be good judges of character. You know, we should listen to them.
This is Mark Schmitz, Gold Star father of Marine Lance Corporal Jared Schmitz. Here we are on a beautiful holiday weekend day. I got to stop what I'm doing, spending time with what's left of my family, to address a heinous, vile, and disgusting post put out by Kamala Harris, trying to incite those that don't follow the truth that President Trump was in Arlington as a political stunt. Shows you how much you know about the 13 families. We invited him to be there. Groundwork was put into place by Congressman Ice's office to make sure we followed protocol. Why did we want Trump there? It wasn't to help his political campaign. We wanted a leader. That explains why you and Joe didn't get a call. Imagine for a second that your kid is killed, and there's a president of the United States willing to take you under his wing and listen to you. That's what we found in President Trump. Certainly not you, and certainly not Joe Biden. You have 13 families who have been waiting over 3 years to so much as get a phone call, to so much as hear our kids' names said aloud in the halls of Congress, at a State of the Union, hell, anything. The irony behind your post that you give a rat's ass about our military or our veterans, Jared's brothers and sisters in arms, the rest of the 12, their brothers and sisters in arms, is an outright lie. We're living proof of that. You're despicable. You have zero business running this country. And I pray to God, Americans, wake the hell up and get your ass out of office. You have spit in our face for the last fucking time.
Ooh, he got spicy at the end. I didn't know that the F-bomb was dropping. Again, it's just proof. It's just proof. If you die for this country, Trump's going to be there with your family grieving you. If you die for this country, Biden's going to be on vacation and Kamala's going to be in her mansion. I don't see how the contrast can be any clearer. Kamala's going to insult the guy that's there for these people while claiming she cares about these people that she's never been there for. Yeah, I feel everything these people are saying. I'm with him. Please, America, please do not fall for Kamala Harris. Just don't do it.
Vice President Harris, my name is Steve Nakui. I'm the father of Lance Corporal Kareem M. Nakui. And your administration killed my son. Deliberately in exchange for political theatrics so you could have a final day of the evacuation coincide with September 11th. Ignoring the advice of your generals, the Doha Agreement, and countless other veterans and members of Congress. Denying the safety of the Afghans and the servicemen and women. Your choice to play politics in 2021 killed 170 Afghans, 13 U.S. service members, and wounded 45 of our service members, as well as countless Afghans. You were not at Dover for the dignified transfer. At no time have you reached out to me to offer your condolences, to offer thank you for Kareem's sacrifice and service. Not once have you honored him by saying his name, so I said it for you. You have disparaged all 13 who have lost their lives as well as their families, exhibiting your lack of gratitude by your silence. I agree with you on one thing, that a person like you should never and will never stand behind the seal of presidency. You are a DEI vice president, and contrary to our kids, the worst that America has to offer. I will pray for you, that God has mercy on your soul.
These poor people. All right, we got the last one, and then we'll conclude.
My name is Coral Dulero. I am Corporal Humberto Sanchez's mother. This is my statement of what happened on August 26, 2024. My son is not buried in Arlington, but I really feel like when President Trump went and paid tribute and paid his respect in Arlington for our kids, it was not just the ones buried in there. It was for all of our kids, and it was an invitation that the families actually extend to him, and it's not the first time that he actually meet with us and share time and with our families. After 3 years until now, Kamala Harris and President Biden didn't even say their 13 names. They called the withdrawal in Afghanistan a success, and for us it was just sadness and a disgrace. They are the responsible persons of murdering our kids, and until this day they did not give us a meeting. They did not accept to meet with us and give us an explanation of what happened. Being him the commander-in-chief, he definitely left our kids behind, and just to fill the agenda of his prior commitments. I invite Kamala Harris and Joe Biden to accept the meeting with us and meet with us and explain us what was the whole deal behind the withdrawal in Afghanistan. I think that as a parents we deserve a explanation, and we deserve the truth of what happened with our kids that day.
And there we are. We have reached the end of this journey. If you made it this far and you still believe the official narrative of the mainstream media that Donald Trump was doing politics and his staff was assaulting people, I don't know what to do for you, because you're going with anonymous sources, claims, vague wording of claims, incidents versus names and faces. Real people. I trust real people. I trust real people a lot more than I do anything on the television. How about you? Anyways, as always, thank you so much for spending some time with me, and I hope you have a great day.